Good evening, Meteorologist Nicholas Herboso here for next weather on this Tuesday evening. The date is the 24th of June. We're in hurricane season. That's what we're talking about today. First name storm of the season. It happened today, and it's dissipating right now. In fact, it's almost gone at this point. So we're going to talk about that also. Stick around. I do have an update for our forecast, just some basic forecast stuff that we're going to be talking about for tomorrow. A risk of severe weather for our area locally. But once again, we're in hurricane season. The activity starts to tick up day by day, especially starts to tick up in August and then peaking in September. That is what we have for the season ahead. Now, we've already knocked off one name off the list, this one being Andrea. It was a tropical storm that happened today. It was a very, very short-lived one, and I say was, it's practically dissipated at this point now. But Andrea, one name down, and we'll see how many we get through here in this hurricane season ahead. This is what the tropical storm looked like when it was really going, and when it was a real, true, good tropical storm. Even though I say good, it was very disorganized. It had this beautiful low-level swirl that you can see there. You see that swirl of clouds, and then it had that little burst of thunderstorms. That is what you see there, the white area that eventually goes away. So you see those thunderstorms bubbling right there, and then they start to go away. And once they go away, technically this thing loses its tropical characteristics and becomes a remnant low, but the National Hurricane Center still has it as a tropical storm. There is a very technical definition for a tropical storm. And we have to wait as scientists. You know, all scientists like very technical definitions. That's just how it works. And scientists have to look and say, okay, are my definitions met? Is this an actual tropical storm? And in this case, we were waiting. We had winds that were tropical storm for us. We were waiting on thunderstorms. Tropical systems need thunderstorms, and therefore you get the check mark, boom, tropical storm. We got that today for a very brief period, very short-lived tropical storm that if we did not have the beautiful satellite imagery like this that we have, then we wouldn't have even known this storm existed. So this is kind of one of those way out there storms. Didn't do anything to anybody, but it existed. A really cool satellite picture there, very short-lived. For reference, I mentioned today is the 24th, and the first name storm on average happens around June 20th in our area, or in the Atlantic Basin, I should say. June 20th is that average first name storm. So we're right about there. Maybe a little slower. Again, we've heard the forecast. We've been talking about this is going to be above average season. And it's like, okay, well, nothing's happened yet. And of course, that doesn't really mean anything. The season can start whenever. It's typically those months of August and September when we actually get through the names on the list. And you can see how you go to the C name, D name, and E name, how quickly those happen after each other on average. Very clear signal on how the hurricane season works. But this one, way out there in the middle of the Atlantic, and really did not bother anybody. This is the satellite picture as the last few frames that we got with the visible satellite, still showing that beautiful swirl. Then, of course, the sunset over the Atlantic. Current particulars on the storm as of the 4 p.m. advisory. This is going to be a remnant low soon here, but 40-mile-per-hour winds, not super low pressure, 10-15 millibars. It's moving to the northeast at 20. Closest landmass, I guess the Azores there, some of the islands there, but that is it is really in between right now, so there's just not much to this storm, just a name knocked off the list. Elsewhere in the tropics, let's talk about what's going on. There is no other development that we are seeing. No development is expected elsewhere over the next 7 days. The only thing we have on the board is what's left of that tropical storm, Andrea. Right now, the Atlantic Basin, which is very typical for this time of year, the Atlantic Basin is dealing with wind shear, some dry air, just a hostile environment. That is very, very typical for June. June is typically not a very active month. So that's exactly what we're seeing. We knock one name off the list. There you go. A kind of typical June for us here as we start to end June here in a few days. Looking at the Caribbean, I also want to direct your attention. If you look at some of these upper level clouds, I'll try to point it out. Some of these upper level clouds are moving rather quickly. See the ones that are wispy and flying pretty quickly across the Caribbean? That's a hint that we have very high wind shear right now across much of the Atlantic basin. Wind shear and tropical systems do not mix. Tropical systems need calm environments around them. They need an upper level anticyclone. They need ventilation. They don't need any spinning or shearing of the winds, I should say, because the thunderstorms don't need to be sheared. The thunderstorms need to be pristine in a tropical system. And right now we just have a ton of wind shear, so anything that would try to happen just would not happen. And also the dry air just does not help at this point. Tropical origins. Where do we typically see tropical systems in June? It's closer to home. In fact, this particular tropical storm, Andrea, ended up being one of the farthest, if not the farthest, north and east forming storm in June. It's way out there in the Atlantic. So kind of unusual to see something that far out, but we happen to be able to see it because of the wonderful satellite imagery. We could see that this storm formed. So tropics in June, typically closer to home. We keep an eye on things as always, but right now things are looking quiet over the next 7 to 10 days. And that is the story in the tropics. I did mention that I wanted to talk about some local forecast stuff. I want to give you a heads up to tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be screaming hot, probably our hottest day of the year. Temperatures in the middle and upper 90s. And I think some places could really sit in the upper 90s tomorrow afternoon. That is serious heat. You're going to want to be ready for it. Futurecast, though, something we're going to want to pay attention to, because on our Wednesday, we could see some afternoon pop-up thunderstorms with an evening and maybe overnight round of thunderstorms. Let's break this down. 4 p.m., you see all those small specks of green on the board? That means that we could have scattered, randomly placed showers and thunderstorms. They will be randomly placed. That doesn't develop along the sea breeze and then, splash and dash wherever you are there. That's just how it always works. But you see all those storms off to our east. That big complex over the Panhandle, that's Panama City, over to Tallahassee, Dothan, that whole area dealing with thunderstorms. The flow pattern for tomorrow is super interesting. It is from east to west. So all of the storms tomorrow are going to move like that. And that's a little different. So this is what the futurecast looks like. By 7 o'clock, we have some thunderstorms that are blowing in here, and some of those thunderstorms could be strong to severe. There is a slight risk of severe weather for tomorrow. That is a level 2 out of 5, with the main threats being damaging winds and hail. And I think that there is a possibility in the late evening time for us to have some showers. Then, I'm not done. Overnight and into the early morning hours Thursday, some forecast models, not all, this one not so much, show another possible round of very early morning showers and storms on Thursday. Now this forecast model is pretty dry. Other forecast models like the HRRR actually show something. So Thursday morning, I want you to also prepare for the possibility of some morning showers and thunderstorms. Early Thursday morning. So your rounds are afternoon on Wednesday, evening on Wednesday, and possibly Thursday morning. After that, we'll return to the regular schedule. The severe risk will not be as high. Pop-up showers and thunderstorms, you know the name of the game. So severe weather outlook tomorrow night, you have a slight risk, level 2 out of 5 for eastern portions of our area. Storms moving east to west, slightly unusual pattern, but that's just the upper level flow that we have right now. That's where it's going to push the storms. Marginal risk for far western portions of our area. They'll lose some steam in the overnight hours. Be prepared for a couple warnings tomorrow. If warnings are issued, you'll get the notification on your phone. Some of the thunderstorms tomorrow can produce gusty winds and some lightning. I've seen comments on social media, on Facebook, some remarks just talking to people around town, that there's a surprise that these storms are popping up. They come out of nowhere and suddenly, you lose the umbrella. You lose part of the trampoline, stuff like that. That's why you kind of have to be vigilant with these kinds of storms, with this particular setup, because the potential is there for some of these storms to produce really strong winds, and that could cause some issues for unsecured objects in your yard, like umbrellas, lawn furniture, trampolines, stuff like that. So be vigilant tomorrow, especially tomorrow evening and tomorrow night, a couple of thunderstorms could blow some things around. Trying to share that message there. Of course, we're watching this on Facebook. Leave a comment, share as well. Let people know that that's going on. Looking ahead in our forecast, this is your 7-day outlook. Heat is here to stay, kind of. Heat is here to stay, kind of. And I say that because our temperatures lower to a more average point by the weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, see, we're closer to 90 degrees. Tomorrow, 96. So a very hot day. Some places in the upper 90s. Morning lows will be in the 70s. Very, very warm either way. You can see the rain chances go up. Saturday, Sunday, we bump them to around 60%. Monday, Tuesday, we bump them to around 60% as well. So that is a higher number. There's a higher likelihood that we'll see more pop-up storms. We could have some decent rainfall totals by then. 10-day outlook. Where does this take us? I'm taking us into July here, where you see that we'll still have some kind of chance of pop-up showers and thunderstorms each and every day. Temperatures are not as crazy as they were before, but still temperatures around 90 degrees. That's hot stuff. Make sure you have ways to stay cool. That's the deal here on Next Weather here for our Tuesday. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to tune in to Fox 10 News at 9 and 10 p.m. We'll see you then, and be sure to tune in to Next Weather tomorrow as well.